can't believe it's back to school time already. It's crazy how fast summer break goes for everyone. But the most exciting thing for me about back to school was this super cool paper that I got when I was at Archivers a couple weeks ago by Basic Gray. It's called the Oxford Collection. And I just love the muted colors and the patterns that look like textured and warm and rich for fall. It's just awesome. And you could make the same projects with any other back to school type of paper, but this is just what I used. And this actually coordinated really well with the AC Cardstock Earth Tones package, which is kind of a similar color palette to the paper. So I also had fun using some chalk paper that I got at Michael's, which is actually like a chalkboard. You can really write on it with chalk. And the other two main things that I did on my projects that made them look really nice was I added a lot of dimension with pop dots, and I also did a lot of inking around the edges of all the shapes with my ink pads. So I'm going to show you how to do all that and get the same type of look on your projects, whether they're back to school or for whatever. And I'll also show you how to put together the three-dimensional schoolhouse and the pencil. So let's get started. Okay, so for this ABC card, I actually did a lot of dimension on it, meaning that I put some of these layers out from each other using these three-dimensional pop dots. They're actually called Zots, and they just add like 1/8 of an inch of dimension behind each thing. So I put one behind the pencil, and behind these, behind those, and even behind this paper. And I really think there's no such thing as too much dimension. Like, I've never looked at a project and thought, oh, that has too much dimension. So you can really feel free to add it, and it always adds a nice touch to your project. So around the edges of each shape, I also rubbed a black ink pad. So I just took it and I just rub it around the edge of every single shape before I glued it together. And this little stack I got at Michael's, but I've also seen little tiny ones that are perfect for this in the $1.99 bin at Archivers. So you can usually find a good deal on those at the local scrapbooking store. For my other card, same deal. I did a lot of inking around the edges, and I did a lot of dimension. And another thing is, for these buttons, I wanted to add a little something right here, but as you can see, the buttons are kind of the same color as the paper that they're on, because I wanted to add something, but I didn't want it to be too crazy. So if I would have added like red, blue, and yellow buttons, it would technically coordinate, but it would really draw your eye there, and it might just be too much going on. So that's why I chose those colors. So you can do that anytime you want to add something, but you don't want it to be too much. Also, for this pencil, I really added a lot of nice dimension to it by first I embossed this bottom layer of the pencil with my Argyle embossing folder, and then I inked the edges of it, and then for this top layer here, I just left it plain, but I inked the edges of it too. So it really defines the edges and gives it some texture, which looks really cool. So for the card base on this apple, I just used plain red AC cardstock, and on the inside I put the optional interior part for writing on. And I did need it for this because if I would write on the red, it might not be as easy to see. And then I wanted it to kind of echo an apple, which is the red color, but then on the inside it kind of echoes like a chalkboard because it kind of looks like the same color as a chalkboard. So that's why I chose the black AC cardstock back there. And then for just a cute little frame around it, I used that cool plaid pattern, which your eyes can still kind of pick up on it, but it's real subtle. So I really like the way that that looks. So for my scrapbook page, I kind of did the same thing again with a lot of dimension and with a lot of inking on the edges of almost every single shape here. And for this clipboard part, I just glued this edge here down, but then behind it I put a pop dot, so it really looks like how a clipboard really looks in real life. And I did the same thing here again with these buttons where I wanted them to kind of blend in, but I wanted something cute there. So I did the white on the white. And then I also used this really cute twine here, which I got from the Twinery. And I got their little sampler package of a couple different colors, but this is obviously the black and white one. And then for the embossing back here, I used one of my large Cuttlebug folders that has some letters on it, which of course kind of looks back to school-y because it's letters. And then this is where I got to use my really cool chalk paper from Michael's. I've also seen a different brand at Archivers, but this time I used the Recollections brand. And when I cut it with my Black Cat Lynx, I turned the pressure all the way up to, I think, like 110, because it's pretty thick. but you can definitely write on it with some regular old chalk, which I picked this up at Joann Fabrics for like $2. And you have to press really hard to write on it, but it's fun to do. And if you wanted to set it so that it's permanent, you could probably use the fixative that you can buy at the like art supply store. Because let's say you were to draw a whole entire picture with chalks, you can get this spray that's made just for that, which I think they have at like Hobby Lobby and probably at Michael's. It's called fixative spray. And you definitely want to take it outside and do it because you don't want to be breathing it, but you just spray it right on there and let it totally dry, and it should make it so that your chalk does not rub off. So another thing about the chalk is you can definitely erase it and rewrite it if you need to, which I actually did here, and I think it made it look kind of messy, which I actually like because it looks more like a real chalkboard with a little bit of the chalk kind of messy, so that's fun. So next for the pencil, same thing again. I did some embossing on the bottom layer, and then I inked it, and I inked every single little part of it to really show the edges and give it some dimension. And obviously this is where your picture is going to go, and just lots of dimension, lots of inking, and I had a lot of fun with these different patterns. Even these little flowers, you wouldn't think of that as a back to school pattern, but I mean they did all the work for you at Basic Gray by making it all coordinate, so you can feel free to play with it and put random things together, whether it's, you know, Basic Gray, DCWV, whatever it is. So the last thing are just these cute little glasses peeking out here. I know the Wayfarers have been pretty cool lately, so it's a little touch there. And then down here it kind of looks like a locker, which I thought was cool. And the background paper has like this math pattern on it, which is super cool. So I had a lot of fun putting that together. So here are all the pieces for my 3D pencil. And I've already gone ahead and put the numbers on the main part of the pencil. And here is the wood part of the pencil and the graphite part. These are two little decorations we'll put on at the end. And then all of these pieces here are going to form the bottom. So first I'm going to take this main pencil part and I'm going to put glue on this tab on the end here. And I'm just going to curl it around into a nice little cylinder. And put it like this. And this already has score marks on it, so folding it up is really easy. You just want to make sure that you line it up real nice along the line here. So the edge is right along the score mark. And I can even flatten it out like this just to get a real nice area to push down on while the glue is drying. So there's the main part of my pencil. So next I'm going to take my piece that is the wood colored piece, and just to make it a little bit easier to work with, I'm going to give it a little bit of a curve with a pen or a pencil or whatever I have laying around. This way I won't be fighting with the paper as much because it'll already be going in the direction that I want it to go. It's kind of optional, you don't have to do this, but I think it's going to help a little bit. Next I'm going to take some glue and put it here on this tab and curve it around and glue it together. And I'm just going to hold the glue while it dries so that it doesn't slide apart when I let go of it. And I'm just going to line it up real nice along the score mark. Okay, now I've got my little cone shape, and the seam is back here, and the seam on this is back there too. So I'm going to line those up. I don't really have to do that, but it's just kind of nice to keep the seams together. And then I'm going to start with just one tab and put some glue on it, just a nice little thin layer. And I'm going to get started by just putting my hand on the inside of the pencil, and I'm going to hold that in place while it dries. And I want the score line to be sitting just right on top of the edge of the bottom part, and right in the center. And I'm just going to hold that while it dries so it's nice and strong. And I'm going to do each tab one at a time for a while until I get down to about like 5 or so left. So now I'm at the point where I've got about half of it glued, and there's about 4 or 5 tabs left in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and put glue on all of them, and then I'm going to just do my best to put each of them into place and hold them each into place while they kind of all dry at once. Okay, so I've got my wood part of my pencil on my pencil, and next I'm going to do the graphite part by doing the same kind of thing. I'm going to roll this around to make it a little bit easier to work with so that I'm not fighting against the paper the whole time. And then I'm just going to glue it together to form a little cone shape. So I'll just put a tiny bit of glue here. And while that's drying, I can take the other part of this and I'm going to fold each one of these points down. I'm going to put glue on each little triangle. Is going to get a little tiny dot of glue. And then I'm going to take this whole thing and just stick it up from the underside. And there we go. I'm just going to squeeze all the little tabs to make sure they're touching the paper. And it doesn't matter what it looks like on the inside. So there we go. And now the seam is back here, so I'm going to match up the seam on this too, just to keep it consistent, which is back here. So I'm just going to glue that right onto the top with a big fat ring or two of glue, and then just put it on the top and hold it a little bit while it dries. Okay, so we'll set that aside, and now let's work on the bottom of the pencil. Here are the pieces, and these two green pieces, one of them is slightly longer than the other one. This one is a little bit longer, which means it goes on the outside. This one's a little bit shorter, so that's going to go on the inside. I'm going to put that over there for now. And this, I'm just going to form it into a like a cylinder shape. Put some glue on the end of the tab and bend it around and line it up exactly corner to corner. So this is the bottom of my eraser, and I'm going to fold, this is the inside of it, and I'm going to fold all these in. So now I'm going to take glue and put it on every single one of these little triangles, and then I'm going to put it down inside the cylinder and glue them all in place. So now I'm just putting it all the way down at the bottom, and I'm just folding each triangle up and pressing it into place. And now it looks kind of weird in there, so that's why we've got this piece that I'm going to put on the inside to cover up all those weird triangles. So here's my final piece with the bottom and the outside. Now I'm going to take my inside piece and I'm going to put glue all on that side of it, and then I'm going to just stick it inside to hide all those funky looking triangles. It just finishes it off, and it also makes it easier to close it up, and those are both good things. So there we go. And I'm going to fold it around and just stick it down in there. So here's my almost finished bottom part, and I just noticed that it's kind of bland, so I wanted to just ink the edges of it a little bit. Maybe brown would look nice too, but I just want to add a little interest to it. And that just makes it a little more interesting and finished off. So now when I go and put the top inside the bottom, it helps if I go in at kind of an angle and then I kind of twist it while I'm putting it together. If I just try to go straight on, it's kind of difficult, but like I said, angle it and then kind of twist it, and it's a lot easier. So there we go. Now I'm going to take this final part here and I'm going to glue this around, and then I'm going to glue this little accent part around to really make it look like, oops, up here though. It goes up here. And I'm going to glue it in place right there. So I've got my whole pencil together, and now I just need to add my cute little tags on here. And I could write on this chalkboard paper with chalk, but I'm going to use my white gel pen and just write the teacher's name on there with that. Actually, I will do that later because I don't want it to smear while I'm doing this part. So I'm going to take my ribbon, it's about 18 inches long, and I'm going to feed it through the slits on this apple. And I'm also going to feed this tag through this side here. And then I'm going to loop this around my pencil. And I'm just going to tie it in a cute little knot. I could tie it in a bow, but I'm feeling a knot instead, just to keep it simple. And there we go. Now I will just trim that up a little bit, and it looks super cute. So here are all the pieces for my little red schoolhouse, and these are the sides and the bottom. This is the roof up here, and these are some embellishments that we're going to put on at the end. So first I'm going to form the bottom, the base of the schoolhouse. So I'm going to put some glue on this tab and glue it right onto the other half of the building. And then I'll just do the same thing with the other tab. And as you can see, I've already glued my window frames in place, and I put some vellum behind the windows so that if I put some goodies inside, they won't come out the windows. So now I'm just going to flip it over and fold these tabs in, put glue on them, and I'm going to glue the bottom in place. And I'm just kind of feeling the edges and squishing it together where it's overlapping, and just while the glue is drying, I'm just adjusting it a little bit here and there, and it fits perfectly. So I'm just going to stick my hand down inside there and push down on the tabs against the table to make sure that the glue is really getting bonded in there. Okay, so now I'm going to fold over these tabs a little bit more here, and you can probably guess what I'm going to do next is glue this, all four of these closed here. And this tab folds over, and we want that to go underneath this one like this. So first let's glue these. Okay, so now I'm going to take these two little tabs and I'm going to fold them over and glue them down. And then I'm going to glue these long ones down too. There's no curved pieces in this project, so that makes it pretty straightforward. So I'm just doing the same thing on this side. And lining up the edges, wiping off a little extra glue, and just holding it while it dries. Okay, so there's the bottom. That was really easy. So here are the two pieces of my roof. It just is double layered just to make it a little stronger. So the top layer is the smaller one. This bottom layer has a tab on it. So I'm going to put glue on this tab, and that is going to get folded under, and it's going to go right onto the side here. It's going to form a little hinge. So I just want to line up the edge of the tab with the edge of the inside here, and just hold it for a little bit while it dries. So next I'm going to place this second layer on for a little added strength. So I will just put some glue inside it. And I'll just put it right on top there. I want to make sure there's no air bubbles or anything. I think I'll actually lay it down on the table and smooth it down just so that we're not going to see where the glue is or any air bubbles or anything, hopefully. Okay. And sometimes when a double layer like that dries, it might want to curve, so just keep an eye on it. If you see it starting to curve, just kind of curve it the other way, and then once it dries, it'll be fine. Next I'm going to fold, this is the little tower part that's going to go up here. So I will just put a little bit of glue here and just glue it like so. And then I'm not going to glue that on yet. First, I'm going to take the top, the little roof part of the tower, and I'm going to do the same thing to that. I'm going to glue this inner tab closed. And that's this part where the big triangle's cut out. That's where I'm going to glue it together to form like a pyramid shape. Okay, and next I'm going to put glue on all 4 of these tabs, and I'm going to glue it inside of the top of the tower. So actually I'm going to put it in place first, and then I'm going to open this up so I can see inside of it. And I'm going to put my glue on the tabs from down here. And if you're looking at this from the top, it's actually not a perfect square. 2 of the sides are a little bit longer than the other 2 sides. So first, before you start to glue it, you want to make sure that you've got it positioned right. If it feels kind of off, just turn it and see if it feels better that way. Alright, so my top is in place. I'm going to take these little tabs and fold them back underneath. And then I'm going to put glue on each of them, and I'm going to put them right into place on top of the roof. Okay, so we've got all our glue. I'm going to take my schoolhouse. I could put it right in the middle, but I want it a little closer to the front. And I'm just going to push it down, and I'm just going to hold it while the glue dries. So next I'm going to take my little stair shape, and it just forms a little box. It's pretty self-explanatory. So just put glue first on the one tab. I can fold it in half to make sure it's nice and even. And hold it while it dries a little bit. And then just go ahead and close up the 2 sides of it by putting some glue on the tabs and then folding it closed. And just hold it while it dries and do that to the other side too. So I've got my little stair all glued together, and I'm just going to glue it right onto the front on the bottom. Just glue it right there and hold it while it dries. So to finish it off, I'm just going to take these little pieces and put it around the side here, and I'm going to glue this one on the other side, and it just covers up the side of the stair, finishes it off. And then this little piece will go, actually first put the door on in the center, and you're just going to glue that like this. So here's my cute little finished school, and the top opens like this. It's definitely something that a teacher would love. You could put something special in there personal for her, like some little soaps or some little candies or something, or a nice candle for her to take home and enjoy. Just a little thank you for all the hard work that they do for the kids. So there's all the finished stuff, and you can also use each element separately on any other paper project. You'll definitely have fun making the scrapbook page for your first day of school pictures, or making something special for your kid to say, hey, have a great day, back to school. Or maybe for a neighbor who drives them to school, or whatever. You get the idea. So if you make any of this stuff, I would love to see it on our Facebook wall or in our forum. Thanks for watching, and happy crafting!